Welcome back to another edition of our Postscript series. I hope you're enjoying it so far, and I hope you enjoyed our service on Sunday where my sermon dealt with the need to stay awake. And in that time, I was trying to reflect on what it actually means to stay awake spiritually, because many of us have found one tool or another for staying awake. I drink 3 cups of coffee in the morning typically, and that does the trick till about 4 or 5 in the evening. And by that time, I'm just not quite as aware as I might otherwise be. You might have your own little method or technology, let us say, to help you stay awake. But I'm actually not talking about that sort of physiological event. I'm not talking about anxiety that can sometimes keep us awake or a deadline that's pressing on us. In fact, those pressures, both external and internal, can work against the spiritual vigilance and awareness that we're called to cultivate and build in our lives and in the life of our community. Instead of pushing ourselves to quite literally stay awake past the point of health and body satisfaction, you know, the body wants to go to sleep and I'm refusing to let it go to sleep, right? So we're not talking about that. But in contrast to that, the spiritual vigilance that I spoke of requires a certain practice or set of practices that actually allows us to pause, to just stop, because from every corner of our life and from many areas of our life that are actually life promoting and joyful, be it kids, family, friends, maybe work and volunteer opportunities that we really enjoy and that we find meaningful, there will be demands placed on us. And in order to live into these opportunities effectively and with joy, we have to take a pause. Just like when you get up from maybe watching a program or even reading a book, you put a bookmark there, you hit a pause button, you do something to allow you to tend to something else that requires your attention. Well, you require your attention. And of course, that presence of the divine in your life requires attention and care. And it can be very difficult to hear the still small voice that is speaking to you, reminding you of your belovedness, of your acceptance, and of your call, your passion. It can be hard to hear that voice if you're only listening to and responding, or better yet, reacting to those external pressures that are fast approaching or clamoring for your attention at all times. And so my encouragement this last Sunday was to find a practice that allows you to have your lamp refilled, as the party, those who were waiting in our parable, they wanted to make sure they had enough oil in their lamp. Some did, some didn't. So what allows you to refill your lamp so that you can see what you need to see in your own life, so that you can respond with joy, not a kind of begrudging obligation, but with joy at these opportunities? Because if you're not being nurtured and supported by a practice or set of practices, you're not going to be able to live abundantly into the possibilities that exist on any given day. So for me, one of those practices happens to be 15 minutes of silence. Sometimes centering prayer helps to get me to a place where I've managed to at least mute some of the voices and things that assail me in the morning or evening. But for you, it might be different. I find that physical activity can sometimes help, if for any other reason, because in order to perform a certain physical act, whether it be walking, jogging, exercise of some kind, yoga for some people, or Pilates, in order to do that effectively, it requires you to get out of your head just a little bit. And I find that getting into our whole body examining our whole body by doing something that requires both attention and focus of a singular nature, it can give us a new perspective. It can help us see things that we would have otherwise not been able to see because we're better prepared to see it. And so I don't know what the practice is for you. Maybe you're looking for a practice right now. I'd like to make myself available if you'd like to explore some practices. I've tried to collect a number of them and keep them on hand so that I can lift them up for people, because we all have different dispositions and temperaments that make some practices more effective than others. So I don't know what yours is. You may already have one, and so I encourage you to kind of stick to it, that there will be important things that arise in your life as a result of the consistency of that practice. But if you don't have something, maybe do it a little exploring yourself. Reach out to me or any other leader here at First St. Andrews and consider what you may be asked to do in order to see things more clearly. These spiritual practices do rub against the busyness of our lives, but they also open us onto possibilities, and they give us a sense of nurture without which we would not be as ready for what comes at us or for what we're given to see. So this week I'd like to leave you off with that note. Consider something that you may have wanted to try in the past, but you haven't quite gotten to it yet. Maybe try that in the coming months. Certainly as we approach the season of Advent, there's going to be a time of waiting. And a spiritual practice can help us do that effectively so that we're there to receive what is being given for us to see. Thanks for tuning in today. Look forward to seeing you this weekend.